Hello, welcome to the Beginner's Guide to Endgame Gearing in Retail World of Warcraft, The War Within Season 2. My name is Yogurt. I will be your guide today. If you're coming over from my YouTube series where we take a level 1 character and we level all the way to max on a completely fresh account, welcome. This guide is going to help you look at the different ways to acquire gear and the different endgame activities that will help you on your gearing journey to reach your different goals. I've mentioned this before in my series, but I'm not a PvP player. So this guide is really going to just focus on player versus environment endgame in retail World of Warcraft. So not classic, not mop classic, not season of discovery, not hardcore, but just retail current day World of Warcraft. I'm recording this guide at the end of season 2 during a self challenge to level a character from level 1 to get 3k IO. It's currently July 21st, and so we have a few weeks, 2 weeks actually, until season 3 launches. But this guide is going to cover the fundamentals of raiding, dungeons, delves, and crafting, the 4 main ways to acquire gear. And I'm going to put out an updated version of how to gear up during season 3, the best way to spend your crests, and the best way to get your gear up there, what you should be doing in terms of an upgrade path right when season 3 starts. But if you are trying to get a character geared up at the end of season 2, so you go into season 3 strong, you can absolutely follow this guide, and some of that information is going to translate. So raids, dungeons, delves, and crafting, all of the fundamentals that we're going to talk about here aren't going to change too much from season to season. They might change a little bit from expansion to expansion. So you just hit level 80, completed the War Within campaign. You've unlocked all the different endgame activities. You've got world quests. You've got dungeons that you can do at max level at higher difficulties. You can go into raids. You can do higher level delves. So, there's a whole bunch of different opportunities and ways that you can acquire gear. So we're going to take a look at those, and we're going to start off with 2 of the most popular, but all of these can be used in conjunction with one another to help increase your character's item level. And so raiding in the War Within and a retail World of Warcraft can be broken down into 4 difficulties, technically 5 difficulties, but there is LFR, which stands for looking for raid. LFR is queuable. You can hit I on the on your keyboard to open up the dungeon and raid finder or the PvP menu, and under raid finder you can select from a variety of wings of looking for raid difficulty. There is an item level minimum. The requirement is 606. This is a freshly dinged 80 character, so I am item level 541. In season 2 of the War Within, if you complete the Undermine campaign, which takes you into the goblin city of the Undermine, you will get pieces of gear that will help you get a much higher item level. That's our next step on this character, and that will allow you to queue up for LFR. Each of these wings has a couple of bosses. The last one, the Chrome King, allows you to fight the final boss in the raid. And if you're a brand new player, you can hop in here. The mechanics are really forgiving. You might die. That's okay. Someone will resurrect you. You'll want to pay attention to your raid add-ons and dungeon add-ons to see what abilities are coming. But LFR is like the base difficulty. It's queuable content. You don't need a pre-made group. And it awards veteran track gear. So veteran track gear is one of the lowest gear tracks. You'll notice as you start to get higher level gear, I don't think we've actually gotten any yet on our characters. You'll start to see a little tagline in your gear that will say explorer, adventurer, veteran, champion, hero, or myth. Veteran level gears is like the lowest form of group content. It's available from things like, I'm pretty sure, like normal dungeons or even just like heroic dungeons, looking for raid difficulty of the raid. But the benefit of LFR is that it gives you access to tier sets. So we'll talk about tier sets now. I'll just open up the raid guide here. So Shift J on your keyboard will open up the dungeons and raids guides, the traveler's log. And so we'll take a look at raids and Liberation of Undermine. And you can see all the different bosses here, and you can click on the boss and the loot tab, and you'll be able to see things that drop for your class. My class is a rogue on this character, so I can see all of the different items that can drop from this boss as a rogue. You can change this to all classes to see all of the items that drop from this boss. So you can know, hey, this is what I'm going after. And throughout the raid, different bosses will drop these tokens. The tokens can be awarded to different classes, so each token has a set of classes. For my class, the rogue, I share this token with warriors, monks, and evokers, and you can use this token to create a piece of hand armor, gloves, appropriate for your class. This is a tier piece. Tier pieces will have different benefits that are available that will interact with your class. So a tier set is a fundamental part of the gearing system, and their bonuses that are going to be applied are going to be very beneficial. So you're going to want to acquire these pieces of tier. Tier slots for the tier set can be helmet, shoulders, chest, gloves, and legs. And in order to receive the bonuses, which you can see now that I'm hovering over the screen, you will get one bonus when you equip 2 pieces, and you'll get the second bonus when you equip 4 pieces. So you always want to have 4 pieces of tier equipped, so you get the maximum bonus. And then there's a little bit of nuance on which is the best to equip. So, and there's a couple factors here. You can see here, they come with static stats. So you want to be looking for the stats that are best for your class. For Outlaw Rogue, which is what I'm playing, haste and versatility are pretty good. So I'm going to want to have the helmet equipped because it gives me those stats. Whereas crit strike and mastery, not quite as good as some of the other ones. So maybe the pants would be something that I don't have to equip this. I could equip helmet, shoulders, gloves, and chest piece, and I would have enough to get the 4 set, and I can find pants with a better stats on them instead of crit mastery. So a little bit of nuance, but tier sets come from 2 places. They come from the raid itself. So if you do LFR, you can start equipping veteran track tier. And they come from the Great Vault. So all the activities that you do in the week will accumulate into your Great Vault. You get Great Vault slots for defeating raid bosses, completing dungeons, and for doing delves and open world content. And the higher the difficulty you complete, the higher the item level that you'll receive in the Great Vault. We'll take a look at a chart that will outline that in just a little bit. Now, there are different difficulties of the raid. So LFR is the lowest difficulty. Then there's normal, heroic, and mythic. So with an increased difficulty, you'll see things like the health pool changing. The loot itself won't change. But if we take a look at the difficulty from the dropdown, you'll see Raid Finder item level for these tier pieces is 626 to 629. This necklace, 626, it's veteran 2 out of 8. As soon as we go up to the normal difficulty, we're switching to a different track. So if we look at that same necklace, it's now champion track. It's item level 639. Champion is equivalent to normal raid. If we go up one more difficulty to a heroic and we go down, we'll see hero track 652 item level, hero track 2 out of 8. We'll talk about upgrading in just a second. And then the final difficulty is mythic, and that's going to be the highest item level that's attainable. Upgrade level 2 out of 8, item level 665, and you can see myth is the track here that we're on. Some of the tracks do overlap a little bit. So hero 6 is going to be the same as myth 2. So hero 6 is going to be 665. Hero 8 is going to be 672, which is going to be the same as Myth 4, but we can go all the way up to Myth 8 with our tracks here. So the difference here, of course, Raid Finder, lower level, lower power, but it's easily attainable. You can just join in a queue and you can get in there and start acquiring loot. Normal requires a pre-formed group. So under that same section, the looking for group, you can click on the pre-made group tab, click on Raids, the War Within, and find a group, and you'll see all the runs for sale, which is super unfortunate. We're just going to report those as advertisements. And here you'll see some of the different raids that are available. So you can see someone's running a heroic learning Gallywix and a heroic fresh. The difficulty is down here in the bottom right. And this is a normal run. So normal difficulty and most of heroic easily done in a pickup group or a pug. So as you start to gain item level, you can start to apply for these bigger groups. There are no real breakpoints, but it's, you want to try, I would say, shoot for a similar item level to around what drops. I know that's kind of silly. It's like, why would I be doing normal if I'm already item level 639? You want to get these tier pieces. You want to get some of these pieces of rarer loot that are really good, like some of these trinkets, regardless of what level they are, so that you can have those items and upgrade them as you gain more currency. And we'll talk about upgrading in just a little bit. So normal and heroic relatively easily puggable. Normal, very easy. Would definitely recommend after accumulating a little bit of gear, maybe around that 630 to 640 item level, start pugging into normal groups. The difficulty will increase. The abilities might change a little bit too. They change pretty drastically when you go from normal to heroic, and then they'll add on one additional ability when you go from heroic to mythic. Well, at least one. You can see what these abilities are in the dungeon journal. You can also get a little overview, especially depending on what your role is. So for Vexy and the Gear Grinders, the first boss, it'll let you know defeated Gear Grinder bikers surrender their bikes, allowing for Blaze of Glory, where the player takes control and crashes their bike into the boss. Vexy's tune-up and pit mechanics repair the Gear Grinder's protective plating, so you want to interrupt that ability. And then mechanical breakdown causes the Gear Grinder to take increased damage, so you want to use your cooldowns when it's taking 100% increased damage. And then if you look at the specific abilities on normal, you'll see all of the different things that can be cast by the main boss itself and any of the ads, like these call bikers, what they'll do. And then when you go up to the heroic difficulty, you'll see some changes. And it might not be super apparent, particularly on the first boss, but some bosses will have different abilities. And then when you click on mythic, it'll take it up to another level. Let's try, here we go. Here you can see the mythic difficulty skull when we switch to the second boss. And if we go back down to heroic, that mechanic is not a factor, but Molten Phlegm, this is part of it. So increased abilities, increased damage output, increased health, all contribute into increasing the difficulty. My recommendation would be to go through into Raid Finder, get a feel for all the bosses if you're a brand new player, and then start watching videos and guides on how to complete bosses on normal and heroic difficulties. Heroic is going to have just higher requirements. The people forming the groups are going to have higher requirements. They like to see the ahead of the curve achievement, which is killing the last boss on heroic difficulty. That'll get you into a group really quickly. However, if you just work through with a fresh group and start killing bosses and get as far as you can layer on and add up that those improvements over time and work on to the next difficulty. Mythic, however, this is the highest tier difficulty. It has a hard requirement of 20 players, whereas all the groups before it were flexible. And this is where Discord, communications, voice chat, like this level of difficulty, I would say the first 4 bosses are relatively straightforward to do in a pickup group. the remaining 4 bosses are going to be, and I mean, even that, the first 2 are really straightforward in a pickup group. The first 4 require some additional communication. You might have to join a Discord. You probably might not even kill these, depending on how coordinated the group is. This is where a guild really comes in handy. And so every time you kill a boss, it contributes to your Great Vault, and your Great Vault will reward higher item level loot. If you kill a normal boss, you'll get normal boss loot in your Great Vault. Every boss that you kill unlocks the loot that's available in that pool. So the first time you kill Vexy, all of this loot will be available to you. When you kill Cauldron, it adds to the loot pool. When you get all the way to Chrome King Gallywix on normal difficulty, you'll be able to get any of this generated in your Great Vault. And it's you don't have to do that every week. Once you kill it once, it's unlocked forever. So if one week you go through and kill normal Chrome King Gallywix, and then next week you only go through and kill 4 bosses, there's still a chance that you'll see Chrome King Gallywix loot in your vault. Heroic rewards heroic gear in your vault, and Mythic rewards mythic gear in your vault. So obviously we want to try and shoot for the highest difficulty that we can, but there are other ways to populate your Great Vault, which is what's going to bring us into dungeons. So raids, just to recap, definitely something you want to prioritize. You want to get your tier set pieces. You want to get 4 of them, and then you want to start filling out your slots with other pieces of high item level gear. Dungeons, on the other hand, are repeatable content. So dungeons are available in multiple difficulties. While you're leveling up, you probably completed them on normal difficulty for the War Within dungeons. In every season, there are set dungeons that are part of a dungeon pool that are available. So these dungeons are available in heroic difficulty, Mythic 0 difficulty, or just Mythic difficulty, and Mythic plus difficulty. So heroic awards a certain item level of gear. I think it's probably either low veteran or adventurer gear. Let's take a look. Heroic is adventurer 4. And then Mythic 0 awards champion 1. So Mythic 0 is equivalent to normal raid gear, and then heroic is equivalent to, basically gear that you would get walking around at 619 item level. Heroic dungeons you can do as many times as you want, doesn't matter. Mythic 0 dungeons you can do once per week. Both of those are from this select season 2 pool, which contains 4 War Within dungeons: Cinderbrew, Dark Flame, Priory, and the Rookery, and then 4 older dungeons from previous expansions. So this season and season 2, Operation Floodgate is a War Within dungeon. We have Theater of Pain from Shadowlands, Operation Mechagon from Battle for Azeroth, and the Motherlode from Battle for Azeroth. So Heroic and Mythic 0 are going to award Adventurer and Champion track. And Mythic Plus is where we start to get into the infinitely scaling system, and where I'm actually going to switch over and bring you here. You'll be able to see one of the charts that is available to us and the different item levels that are available for our gear. So we have on the left here from raiding and just overall, we have the different item levels. So the Explorer track goes all the way to item level 619. The Adventurer track starts at 610 and goes all the way to 632, which overlaps with the Veteran track, which is LFR difficulty. You can see here from the raid, which goes from Veteran 1 to Veteran 8, which overlaps with the Champion track, which comes from the normal raid difficulty. The Heroic raid difficulty starts at Hero 1. It actually goes to Hero 8. They added that mid-season. And then Mythic difficulty starts at 662 and goes all the way to Myth 8. Over here on this chart on the right-hand side, this is the Mythic Plus loot rules. So you can complete Mythic Plus keystones that increase in difficulty, and you get a higher keystone by completing it on whatever difficulty you started. So when you complete a base Mythic, or if you go to a vendor in Dornegal, you can get a +2 keystone. That's the base level, base difficulty. When you go into a Mythic dungeon, there'll be a little idol on the ground, and you can insert your keystone, and we'll start a timed dungeon run at +2, which will have increased difficulty, increased health, increased damage of mobs and bosses, and it'll add what are called affixes, which will add a unique way to interact with the dungeon. If you complete a Mythic +2, you will loot champion track 2 gear. So that's equivalent, just from completing the +2, you'll get loot on the normal difficulty level. And loot isn't a guarantee every dungeon that you do. So you'll have to, complete the dungeon. At the end, you'll open a chest, and that will give you a chance to get a piece of gear. You complete the 2. If you complete it quick enough, you'll actually upgrade the keystone multiple levels, so you can upgrade it up to +3, which would allow you to then run a +5 Mythic Plus keystone, or you might just upgrade it once or twice to do 3 or 4, and the end result will be a keystone for a different dungeon that will reward higher item level gear. So if you complete a +4, at the end of the dungeon, you'll get champion 3. If you get to a +6, you'll start looting hero gear. So heroic level difficulty from the raid, the equivalent of hero gear from +6s, +7s, +8s. And you will also, in your Great Vault, unlock even higher item level gear. So if you complete a +7 throughout the week, you'll get a hero gear piece, a chance at a hero gear at the end of the dungeon. And in your vault, you'll actually get hero 4. If you complete a +10 dungeon, you'll get a chance at a higher item level piece at the end of the dungeon. But in your Great Vault, you'll actually unlock a myth piece. So this is a way for people who don't want to raid to unlock that highest tier of gear that you would get from the mythic item level, from the mythic raid. So a goal that someone would definitely want to strive for if they wanted to unlock the highest item level gear is getting to that +10 keystone mark, which is what we're going to do in my video series starting pretty soon, where we level a character from 1 to 80 on a fresh account. And then at the end of the dungeon, you're going to get what are called crests. So we'll talk about crests in just a second. And then down at the bottom of this chart is a little bit on delves. So delves are also a way to get gear. And if you complete the delves cap at level 8, delves are solo or group content that's available in the open world. You unlock delves by increasing the difficulty one at a time. So you'll start at tier 1 through the campaign and the tutorial. You'll unlock tier 2. You complete a tier 2 to unlock tier 3. Complete a tier 3 to unlock tier 4. At tier 4, you need to complete the campaign and be level 80 to unlock the subsequent levels. And then at tier 8, you will have access to the highest level rewards. If you complete a tier 8 delve at the end of the run, you can get a chance at a piece of champion level 2 gear, so normal gear, if it is a bountiful delve. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But it's going to unlock slots in your Great Vault. So at tier 8, you will, in your Great Vault, get an option for hero level 3. So that heroic level gear. So bountiful delves, let's talk about those briefly. So we'll switch back over to World of Warcraft here. And so delves are that available content that is on your map here. Here you can see the Fungal Folly delve, and then you can see an bountiful overcharge delve. So in season 3, they introduced overcharge delves, which are associated with the Titan disc belt, which is a belt that you can level up the item level on up to 701 that will allow you to slot in additional things. I would recommend prioritizing getting your Titan disc belt because the entry level of that is very, very easy. You complete one overcharge delve on any difficulty. It can be tier 1, tier 2. The higher it goes, the harder it is. But if you complete the quest, you will unlock the belt, and it'll give you a nice big item level jump. And then bountiful delves rotate daily. You can see this one actually times out in 30 minutes with the daily reset. And bountiful delves allow you to get additional bonuses. So you'll get a higher item level at the end of the dungeon when you use a restored coffer key to open the bountiful chest at the end. Restored coffer keys are available in a couple different ways. You get them when you complete weekly activities, such as the weekly quests, and then you can also purchase them from Sir Finley Murgleton over in the Delve area. If you are far enough along in your Delver's journey, you can buy them. I think you can buy one or two throughout the season. So you can purchase those for 2,000 undercoins, but you'll also get them simply from doing the weekly quests, like what you have available here whenever you open a resonated cache. So delves are another great way to get gear. These are new in the War Within, a new way for solo players to get that hero track gear from their end of from their Great Vault. So it allows folks to just level up. Some examples of weekly events that will give you coffer keys include the theater troupe, which is just outside of Dornegal. You can also get them from doing the special assignments, which are rotating world quests that unlock after completing world quests within the zone. And then you can also get them from the Awaken the Machine world quest that is in the Ringing Deeps. You can get them from the Spreading the Light event that is in Hallowfall, and then in Ashkahet, if you complete enough of your, if you garner enough reputation with your chosen Severed Threads faction, you'll also get a weekly quest result there that will contain a coffer key. So there's plenty of different ways to acquire coffer keys that will allow you to complete a bountiful delve. Overcharged delves do have an increase in difficulty. Bountiful delves should really just be when you go up, it'll show you what the difficulty is, but level 8 bountiful. And during those bountiful delves, there's a chance for the season's end boss to spawn. His name is the Underpin, and the Underpin can drop what is called a bountiful map. And bountiful maps can will allow you to a Delver's Bounty will give you another chest at the end of the dungeon, or at the end of the delve after you complete it, which at level 8 plus will award you on the spot with a piece of guaranteed hero gear. At delves 6 and 7, it'll be champion gear, and below that, it'll be veteran gear. So if you get a Delver's Bounty or a map in your delve, you want to use that on the highest difficulty that you can, preferably 8 plus, so you just get a piece of hero gear, which is great. So we've talked about raiding, we've talked about dungeons. We always want to do the highest Mythic Plus difficulty that we can. They start at level 2, they go infinite, but the highest dungeon run I think in the world right now is a plus 21. Rewards really stop after plus 12, but rewards from a gear perspective really stop after plus 10. So doing the highest amount of dungeons is a great way to acquire more gear. These are all going to unlock different levels in your Great Vault. So by completing 2 delves or world activities, you'll unlock 1 slot in the world, the world level. I'll switch back over here so you can see what that looks like. So this is what your Great Vault looks like. And the top tiers for raids: defeat 2 Liberation of Undermined bosses to unlock this first slot, defeat 4 to unlock the second, and 6 to unlock the third. Complete 1 heroic, mythic, or time walking dungeon. The rewards will scale with the difficulty, so we want to be doing mythic or mythic plus dungeons. Complete 1, complete 4, complete 8, and then complete 2 delves or world activities, 4 delves, 8 delves. You can only choose one of these from your Great Vault every week, so you don't really have to overdo it. But if you're working on leveling up your IO score or gathering crests, you can do a bunch of dungeons, and you can pick from one of 3. You can add in some raids. it really gives you the maximum amount of choice when it comes to your weekly loot there. So, and the last area that I wanted to talk about today is crafted gear. The backbone of crafted gear is the fractured spark of fortune. So these unlock throughout the season at a certain cadence. You'll get one every other week. You combine 2 fractured sparks to make a whole spark, which you can then you can combine with reagents to craft different pieces of gear. So when you first start out, the first weekly objective that you do will award you with 1. You can come talk to Custodian Kuban in Dornegal, and he'll trade that 1 for 2, which will allow you to craft right away. You can see here, you can combine this with 250 Valor Stones, which we don't have enough to create a Spark of Fortune. Every piece of crafted gear will require at least 1 full Spark of Fortune, which will be one of the reagents that's required to craft. You can get gear crafted from any player. You can actually see probably in the trade chat here, people looking for things that need crafting, and you get items crafted by submitting a crafting order. So you can see all of the different things that you can craft here by clicking on the different categories, weapons and armor. You can also filter by current expansion only. You can also use usable only, so only things that are usable by me. And these epic pieces here, like this Everforged longsword, have these material requirements and these optional reagents, and they will explain this to you. You saw I just closed the tooltips. But you can submit 1 Spark of Fortune, which is going to result in the crafted item being between item level 632 and 645. It also requires a Super Beast Fang, a Storm Touch Weapon Wrap, 5 Sanctified Alloy, 12 Iron Claw Alloy. These are all crafted reagents that can be purchased from the auction house for gold. You can send crafting orders in a couple different ways. You can send a personal order directly to a crafter with a tip. You can find them through the trade channel. You can ask for a guaranteed minimum quality. The quality is what determines the item level. So it says 632 to 645. If they craft it at the highest level, it's going to be the highest item level. So it'll be 645. You can also submit a public order, but if you submit a public order, you have to provide all the reagents, which you should be doing anyways, and it removes the ability to request a minimum quality. There are also additional optional reagents that you can add in, like you can add in a missive to choose the stats that you want. Otherwise, it'll be crafted with random stats. You can also upgrade the item level, which we'll talk about in just a second, or you can add in embellishments. So embellishments will add special effects to the piece that you're crafting. So for weapons, you can add these Dark Moon sigils, which will add bonuses to your crafted gear. So gain Ascendance every 8 seconds spent in combat. Ascendance grants 89 of a random secondary stat, stacking up to 10 times. So you can add in these different embellishments. Different pieces of gear have different embellishment options. You can't add the Dark Moon sigils to every single one. Every single piece. You can't add it to armor, but you can add it to weapons. There are some things you can add to armor, but you can't add to weapons. And then the crest system and the Valor Stone system, this is how you upgrade your gear. So gear that I get from dungeons or from raids, I can just go to the upgrade vendor and add in crests and Valor Stones. Gear that you craft can be upgraded. So here we have Enchanted Gilded Harbinger Crest. Oops, sorry, we want Undermine. Enchanted Rune Undermine Crest. So this is, if you add this reagent, it's going to increase the difficulty, but you can see here it increases the item level, 645 to 658. And then Enchanted Gilded Undermine Quest, 662 to 675. You can purchase those over here by spending Gilded Crest, which you acquire from the end of dungeons or from raid bosses. So you get Heroic Crest from Heroic Raids, you get Gilded Crest from Mythic Plus raid, or from Mythic Raids, and from high level Mythic Plus dungeons. So as you complete dungeons, you have a chance to get gear at the end of the dungeon, but you'll also get these crests These basic crests are used to upgrade gear along with Valor Stones, or you can exchange these at the cost of 60 gilded for an enchanted gilded crest, which would allow you to then create a very, very powerful weapon at the highest item level. So crafting, I'll probably release another video just because it is pretty in depth. What you want to do is, because you can craft mythic level gear, you want to craft as high as you really can afford. By completing the Undermine campaign, you'll unlock access to a heroic piece, a heroic crest, where you can craft a heroic item level. So I would recommend doing the full Undermine campaign to unlock that, and then probably crafting a heroic weapon if you're very low in item level. And then the sparks unlock on a weekly cadence. So what you'll want to do is at the end of a season, like right now, you're going to get a ton of sparks just from doing content. You'll get them at the end of Mythic Plus dungeons. You'll get them when you're doing your raids and LFR. They can drop from bosses, stuff like that. So there's plenty of opportunity to get sparks, and you can craft a lot of gear right out of the get-go. So even if you're just crafting at that base 645 item level, you can see for my character who's brand new, those are going to be huge upgrades. You don't really want to craft in your 4 major tier slots, and trinkets there's not really many good crafted trinkets, so I wouldn't worry about those. But look at things like rings and off pieces like boots, bracers, cloaks, necklaces, not your belt. Your belt you will get from doing overcharged delves. That quest starts here with Dagrin and Therusian over by the delve area. It's called the Durable Information Storage Container. You do a delve, you get a 691 belt right away. So I would recommend doing that first and foremost. So we talked about all these different ways to gear up: raiding, dungeons, delves, crafting. How do you find the best in slot? So we're actually going to toggle back over to our browser, and we're going to talk about a few different areas where you can learn more about your class. So the first one is going to be the Wowhead class guides. You can go to wowhead.com, select your class, Outlaw, Rogue, and you can read through this guide in depth, but they also have a selection called Best in Slot Gear. And it's going to show you gear that's available based on the spec that you're, prioritizing, but it's also going to show you this is the best stuff you can get from Raid. This is the best stuff you can get from Mythic Plus. You should really use these 1, 2, 3, 4 tier slots. So they're skipping, it looks like chess piece for some reason. And it's going to show you what the item is, where it comes from, what dungeon it drops from, or what raid boss it comes from. And then if you go down, it'll tell you what the best disc belt is for your class and spec. It'll also tell you how to spend puzzling cartel chips. We'll talk about those in a section. Second, it'll talk about corruptions. It'll talk about your Circe's circlet, which I would recommend skipping if you're a new player. And it'll also talk about your best trinkets, best upgrades you can spend, and then your best crafted gear. So this is one way that you can take a look at it. There are 2 other ways. One is to go to the Raider.io website, especially if you're a Mythic Plus player. You can go to the Mythic Plus section, click on the class and role leaderboards, find or the spec leaderboards, find the top Outlaw, Rogue, or the top 3, and take a look at what their gear is, what they have crafted, what they're using for embellishments, where they're pulling their gear from. They might have more resources than you do. They might be Mythic Raiders, and we're not starting out there. But I can say, okay, this guy, he is using rune-branded armbands that have an embellishment. Oh, sorry, that's an enchantment. We can look at the embellishments that he does have, or he's crafted the Amulet of Earth and Craftsmanship. He's crafted the Consecrated Cloak that has an embellishment that increases versatility. So we can see here, he's crafted a ring. So we know, okay, if I want to spend my valuable sparks, these are some good areas that I can use to craft that. If raiding is more your thing, you can do the same thing by heading to warcraftlogs.com, clicking on the raid rankings for whatever fight that you're looking at. They're all going to have different damage profiles. filtering down by your class and your spec and looking individually at the trinkets, the embellishments, the horrific vision enchantments, the talents. All of this is available, and you can click on the individual person to see what they were wearing at the time of the kill. So I clicked on them. I clicked on the summary. This unfortunately is from China, so it doesn't translate. Sorry, it's Taiwan, so it doesn't translate. But if we click on Wink Slash from US, click on his damage, click on his summary, we can see all of the items that he has equipped. And then the final thing that you can do is go to archon.gg. This is the last recommendation, but you can click on their War Within. You can toggle between Mythic Plus and Raid and click on the class and spec that you have. And here you're going to find a really synthesized look at what the best gear is, enchantments, all that different stuff. So this is a little bit more advanced, right? When you're starting out, you really just want to start doing dungeons and doing raids at the highest difficulty that you can. But these resources, Wowhead, Warcraft logs, Archon, and Raider.io are ways to look at top players in your specialization to know, okay, I can craft this. I can spend my my crests here. So the other thing that we didn't talk about is the puzzling cartel chips. So this quest available in Dornagal, if you defeat any 4 bosses or dungeons, will give you 3 cartel chips, which you can trade in for pieces of gear, weapons and trinkets, and very rare gear like this this ring that you can get from the raid and from Mythic Plus dungeons. You can get them any item that you want at hero level gear. And then if you complete the raid on Mythic difficulty, you can unlock those Mythic items. Or if you complete all dungeons on plus 12, you can unlock dungeon trinkets at the myth level for those cartel chips. There's recommendations in the Wowhead guide on how to spend those, but I would recommend taking a look at the highest Raider.io ranking and seeing how they're spending their crest, keeping in mind, how they're spending their cartel chips, keeping in mind that we know that it is, they could be a mythic raider. So, and then we talked about crests and valor stones. You'll get these at the end of dungeons. You can upgrade gear. I don't actually have any pieces to upgrade, but you can upgrade gear here in Dornagal using those crests. When you drag a piece into this vendor, it'll show you the upgrade track that we outlined on that table, and it'll allow you to upgrade those. So my recommendation with crests is anything below hero track, just spend it. Spend it as you get it on gear to get your item level higher. And if you want to see how I gear up a character in action, check out episode 10 of my new player guide to retail World of Warcraft. It'll be coming to YouTube soon. I'll try and put a link here in the end of the video. But thank you. This is sort of the introductory look into all the different ways that you can gear up your character in retail World of Warcraft War Within Season 2. Thanks for watching. If you like the content, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.